You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Ba-bam. Ba-boom. Ba-booming. Take a deep breath. You okay?
Yeah, my heart immediately went, what was that? Is it the first time we hit record? I just got really nervous.
Well, this is the Energy is Love podcast.
Oh, well, I just picked up on something.
You better be ready.
I don't know what's going to happen.
You know, we bring it.
Yeah.
On this podcast.
Yeah, that's
it's
funny.
Been brought.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of nerves out of nowhere, so.
We have a lot of nerves in our body.
Fact.
Did you know that the vagus nerve is one of the largest nerves in our body?
Tell me more about the
vagus nerve. And it runs
nerve.
all over our body.
All over?
Yeah.
What does the vagus nerve do?
Nerve stuff. It's involved in nerving. Sometimes the vagus nerve is responsible for when you go to Vegas.
Oh, no.
And you're there gambling, the vagus nerve will be activated.
Probably, yeah.
The vagus nerve gets activated at strip clubs in Vegas.
Jesus.
The vagus nerve is also activated in Reno and Atlantic City. Those are the three places where the vagus nerve is.
What's our next topic?
Do you know more about the vagus nerve? Actually, do you know legitimate information about the vagus nerve?
I have a lot, but on the spot, I'm just gonna be bad. I know it's tied to the parasympathetic system.
Mm-hmm.
Is your fight or flight? Can be your sympathetic or your parasympathetic system. You can calm it by just like cold water on the back of your neck. Cold compresses will help with your nausea. It'll help with. I'm panicking right now. I need a cold compress on the back of my neck so I can talk about the vagus nerve. So gets active. There's so many things, but right now my focal point of it is just the stress rest system that it has within your body. And that when you can calm that, when you can hit your vagus nerve and you can activate it in a sense of calming it, it will soothe your body. And that's the best I can do right now in a total panic mode. And I butchered it. So do the best.
It's all good.
It makes you feel better if you treat it nice.
It does make you feel better if you treat it nice.
Yes.
Totally agree.
But that's if you are in a moment of anxiety and stress and needing to calm, just like cold on the back of your neck will help.
Yeah.
It'll help nausea.
I realized that we need to stop that fan from oscillating.
Okay. Do you want me to fix it right now? Why do we need to stop it from oscillating?
Because it's blowing the tapestry.
And that will drive you crazy.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. In the video.
Where do you want it pointing?
Just in that direction.
That direction?
Over by the light.
Okay. We'll keep the light nice and cool.
Yeah, the light does need to stay nice and cool, Stephanie.
I got it.
Okay, that light, if it gets too hot, will malfunction.
Oh, yeah.
So listen here, smart ass. We record the podcast in our upstairs of our wonderful home. And we've talked about before on the last episodes in regards to silence. You push the thing that changes the thing.
I pushed the thing that changes the thing.
Yeah, so it stops oscillating.
I did that. And it's...
Push it again. Good job. Nailed it. You nailed it. You did great. Anyways,
you and that fan
we're trying some new things.
Are pranking me.
We're trying some new things so it doesn't get as hot up here when we're recording.
For our lights.
Yeah. Shut up.
Our lights are going to be nice and cool.
Shut up.
You're welcome.
So we have a lot
Looks good blowing over there.
Yeah, it does. It looks real good blowing over there. We have a lot of things going on in our life. What do we want to pull from and talk about on this fucking episode?
Okay. Well,
can you think of anything off the top of your head? I mean,
well, there's a couple things we were talking about. Can talk about.
Oh, we were talking about vulvas this morning and penises.
That was the two things. Well, not those. Those weren't the two things. That was one category, and the other was keeping up with what are we doing, like the mental health aspect. And
keeping up with the Joneses.
That's it.
Boys have penises. Girls have vaginas.
That's very narrow-minded. That is not always fact.
Kindergarten Cop from the 90s.
That's not Craig. That's Kindergarten Cop. And now we have a broader scope of things.
Yes. We do have a broader scope of things. There are still just penises and vaginas, though. I guess there is. Okay.
Sexual organs do not define
gender.
Yes.
Okay. That's not the topic. The topic is you follow some Instagram account that has a bunch of vaginas on it.
I follow a few Instagram accounts that have a bunch of vaginas on it.
Yeah. And the purpose being normalizing vaginas outside of typical vaginas that are portrayed in porn and or even just media in general, right?
I guess, but more porn. Like,
yeah, I mean,
all different shapes, sizes, colors. It's not just the very, what's the term?
Atypical?
No, that's not the term. Oh my goodness. It's like they're trying to make them look very young. They're bringing the...
Yeah, there is a term for
there
that.
is, but all I can think of is, because I'm adding youth, I can think of like euthanasia. I'm like, that's so not it. I can't think of the term.
It's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, right? Making vaginas look different than they naturally are.
Look like...
Yeah, perfect young...
little children.
Yeah.
It's
with
terrible.
The shaving and...
All of it has to be just like, it's very... And it's unhealthy. It creates so much pain and confusion in men and women. Because women think, unless I look like that, there's something wrong with me. I'm ugly, I'm deformed, I'm wrong, I'm gross. And then men think that unless they look like that, something's wrong with the woman. They're like, what's that?
Yeah.
Like, it's a vagina. It's a vulva.
Let's talk about this as open and honestly as we possibly can.
Okay, I thought it was doing pretty good so far.
No, I'm going to give some caveats.
Okay.
So this is all stemming from a conversation we were having this morning when we were, like I said, Steph follows some Instagram account, and it's not just, I mean, it is pictures because it's Instagram, but it's not pictures of vaginas. It's pictures of...
Depends on which account, because some of them are like casts, like
some
molding.
Of them are paintings, drawings, casts,
drawings,
all sorts of different things,
some
right?
Some of them are fruit.
The vaginas of fruit. I didn't know if you realized that fruit have vaginas. We can joke about it, can't we?
Yes.
Like, it's totally okay to joke about a vagina and a penis.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's a good conversation in regards to the reality of how they are portrayed, both sex organs, as well as the reality of what they really are. So from your perspective, over the course of your life, what has been your relationship with your vagina?
I thought it was ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was ugly. It was wrong. It was just like...
Even like as a teenage girl way back in the day?
Especially as a teenage girl. Like, that's when you start to have like more awareness of your... Like, I mean, you have it as a kid, and you have like... I don't have a lot of memory on that, so I can't go into detail. But I remember like just seeing... I remember like the first time when I realized... I don't even know how to... Like, there's two things. I felt odd because I developed early. So I developed breast and pubic hair early. And it was like oddly early. And I didn't know it was oddly early. I don't know. I knew that it happened. So I didn't know that I was oddly early because it happens. And it sounds so weird. But there was... I don't know if we were swimming or what happened, but two of my friends and I, all kids, ended up taking a shower together. And we were done just in the shower. So 3 little people in a shower, and you can fit because we're all young. And so we get in the shower, and I realize immediately one of these things are not like the other. And so I have like my hand over myself, and I'm like, oh my God.
You're the only one that had hit puberty at that point.
Had hit, yeah. And so I'm just like, like standing there because like, I look different.
Yeah.
And like that drew attention. So I remember I'm like, why are you hiding? What's wrong? I can't remember all of it because I just remember my feeling of like my hands cupped over it. And I was like, I have hair. They're like, no, let me see. And then I finally showed, and their reaction was like, oh my God, there's so much hair. And I covered it up again, and I don't remember what happened after that. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? So like I immediately, like that was my first, like something's wrong. Like this is like, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And I wasn't.
No, of course not.
But
Right?
like at that, I'm like, I'm wrong. This is wrong. I'm gross. And then it just
Progressively got worse from there.
Yeah.
Do you remember looking at porn and feeling like that was what was supposed to be, or that was normal, or that's how my body was supposed to look? And not just with vaginas, obviously, but with boobs and butts and, you know.
The shave didn't happen until I think around my teenage years, because when I was first seeing porn, there was hair.
Just the
because
bush.
I'm 41, so that was a while ago.
You come from a time when
hair was acceptable.
Porn stars had hairy vaginas.
And so you couldn't really so I didn't have that, but then it started to shift and the shaving started becoming a big deal.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, hair's gross. You must shave that. You must shave that because it looks, you're gross if you have hair. You're dirty if you have hair. And so it started with hair. And like that's been a love-hate relationship with me. Done all kinds of things to remove it and find peace with it. So
wax, shave.
Yeah.
I remember girls growing up like in high school and stuff like that talking about the cream that they would put on their legs.
Ooh.
What's that?
I didn't mean to be so loud there. I was just thinking about the intense burning of Nair on your vagina. Nair would suck. I have not done hair removal cream there. I have not naired my nairy.
Okay. But that's a thing, right? Do some people put that on their vagina?
I hope not.
Probably.
That would be. So
I guarantee
probably,
somebody has. Yeah, of course. Right?
Don't do that. Stop doing that. That's going to hurt your...
Well, do whatever you want with your vagina, right?
Well, I'm not saying you can't remove hair if you want to. I'm just saying, try and find a method that's not going to completely throw off your pH and burn and not possibly make you sick. Yeah. Find other ways. Find healthy ways to remove the hair if
duct
you choose
tape?
to. Okay.
That's a viable source.
I would have probably tried duct tape if that was my only option. I'd have probably duct taped myself whoosh.
How much of your, and I think I probably know the answer to this, but because I know we've talked in the past about not getting a lot of information in regards to sex or body development or anything like that from parents, but how much of your, not what you learned, but what you would say is your mindset, point of view, and perspective of specifically vaginas, how much of that would you say comes from society, whether it be porn or women's bodies, all of that kind of stuff, right? Like the societal quote unquote norms, even though they're not normal. How much of your perspective and your view of your own body do you feel like has stemmed from that?
From society?
Mm-hmm. Versus, what you were taught or life experience or...
Well, I think it's 100% society.
100%.
And just because that's where you get all the acceptability, and society, media, all that teaches you what's right for a body and what's wrong for a body. But then you go back and you look at life experiences where you've been affected by that, by other people, and that also comes from society. So their reaction to you is based off of societal standards that comes through. So I think it's just a stigma that is incorrect and is very, very influential and very damaging. I think it's societal. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you have...
It's okay. If you say something wrong, I'm shoving my foot right in your crotch underneath the leg. I will just nut check you so hard to be quiet because I am super activated right now. I've never really threatened violence before. Yeah, I'm talking about my insecurities with my very, me. That's not an easy, I don't easily, it's a thing. I have a lot of,
You have a vagina?
I do. I have a vulva. I have my lady bits. I'm going to try and make jokes now. I do. And I'm proud of the fact that that I...
Scale of 1 to 10.
Let me finish a sentence.
Go ahead.
But it's really hard to talk about how ugly and gross you think you are. And how that affects. So we're sitting here having this open conversation. And I'm being I'm talking about things, but I'm also not talking about things. And maybe I'll talk about things. I don't know. But it's hard. It's this is where I feel really... One of the areas I feel really inadequate. I mean, I've thought about plastic surgery. I've thought about I used to... Anyways, we'll get to that. I'm going to totally stop talking right there because I want to hear what you were going to say. And I don't want to say what I was just about to say.
I'd rather hear what you were about to say.
But I'm not going to right now. I got to warm up some more.
Well,
this should have been an edible episode.
This definitely should have been a drunk and or
y'all want
high
to see it?
Episode. Over the years of our relationship, I mean, I hope, and I'm almost certain, right? But I hope that I've never contributed to, I hope I've never made you feel shame or embarrassed or anything about your body. This turns out to be a harder conversation to have than I thought it was going to be.
Right?
We should totally be drunk. Where are you at today in regards to your relationship with your body and your vagina as far as acceptance? Is it still a love-hate? Is it still...
It's absolutely still a love-hate.
Is it improving?
That is an improvement because I was a hate. There wasn't a love. I was a hate. And I have moments of accepting my body. I've never I still get really insecure. And there's times I can't look. There's times I can and I can see. And there's times I see myself and I'm oh my God. I just can't because then I'm that's what you're seeing. Ah! And I get so scared because
you think that's what I'm seeing.
Because I think I'm we both have eyes. I'm
yeah, but
I see what that looks like.
That perspective is so skewed too, right? Because you have never seen your vagina the way that I see it. And I'm not talking about...
No, I've waxed. I've used mirrors.
No.
I've seen it from that angle.
But no.
And
you
that
haven't.
Scares me more. I'm what the fuck?
I'm not just talking about the perspective of your husband and all this kind of stuff, your partner. I'm talking about just the literal sense of looking down at your vagina. Uh-huh. It's going to look... It's no different than if we take this water bottle, right? And look down at it.
Are you mansplaining my vagina to me?
Well... Yes, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Let me tell you about vaginas and what it's like to have one. But it's the same thing that I struggle with, right? I look down at my penis and I think, well, this is just a shit show nightmare, right? But I've never seen it from the perspective of how you see it.
Mm-hmm. I have a different opinion.
And the angles from which you see it and the way, your relationship with my penis is far different than my relationship with my penis.
Good relationship with your penis.
And I have an amazing relationship with your vagina.
Yeah.
We're madly in love. Okay. Every time she sees me, she gets super excited. She wants to come over and give me a hug. She wants to hang out. She's like, what have you been up to? She wants to have a conversation.
I'm trying to use the word vulva, and it's because it's so...
Instead of vagina.
Yeah, because vagina is only a tiny aspect of it.
Okay, so let's use the word vulva.
I'm trying, but it's funny because that's so ingrained. Like you said at the beginning, that's what you're learned. You're only taught about the part that's for the man, the sheath, the opening.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why they...
Because women haven't... Everything is known about the man's penis. The veins, every little nook and cranny, every function, duality, that is an important thing. But they've just recently learned the full body of the clitoris.
The full anatomy.
All of it. And how, it's not just a little nub. I mean, first of all, the little nub was, that was even a hard one for them to find. They finally found that one. That was just the tip of the iceberg. So there's just women hasn't been important. It just hasn't been important. And so that's changing.
So your relationship is improving in regards to your vagina.
My vulva.
Correct, your vulva.
My yoni.
What do you think, if you were to give advice to somebody that is struggling with their self-confidence in regards to their body and in regards to their vulva, what would you say?
Do you have Instagram? I'm serious.
Go to this account.
Go to the Vulva gallery. That changed so much for me.
Did it?
Absolutely.
Do you feel like you hadn't seen a lot of different vulvas over the course of your life?
Other than porn? Yeah, no, I haven't. I haven't.
Yeah.
So that's not like something that...
See, I think this is interesting
that
because,
happens.
I mean, I've seen a handful of vulvas
Yeah, you've been
over the course of my life, right?
So yeah, that makes sense.
So I have seen a handful in person, and then I've also seen a larger spectrum of vulvas via porn.
Yeah.
And so...
You've seen a larger spectrum? Like different types?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there is a classic, when I say classic, that makes it, I mean, the classic, vulva from porn is
version.
Definitely 70s bush porn.
Oh, okay.
That's a classic, right?
Okay.
But current day, common, the way that the vulva is portrayed in pornography today is obviously vastly different than it was in the past. And what you consistently see today is not an accurate portrayal of the reality of what a female's body actually looks like.
Yeah.
But if you go down, some do.
And you're not wrong for having that body either.
Correct.
And that's another thing is like they get women that happen to fit into that so-called perfect category are then demoralized for that as well. And so it's like instead of all bodies being okay, this is what you're supposed to look like, but if you do look like it, there's something wrong with you.
See, I think this is something that's different too between men and women. And it's not all people, right? Everybody's different and everybody's on a different spectrum. But obviously the way that men view porn is different than the way that women view porn. And porn viewing behavior, and not with everybody, I said, right?
Okay. That's right.
There's always differences, of course.
There's always the freaks like me out there.
No, but even like I bet when you watch porn or when you view porn, even, today.
Okay. I haven't yet, but we'll see.
I'm sure it's different than the way that I do. What I'm trying to get at is I think men see a broader spectrum of what exists in the realm of pornography than the majority or classic stereotypical, statistically speaking, women do. And I think the reason is because...
You're making me, like, my right eye is starting to, like...
Am I getting too...
No, I just don't understand what you're trying to say. Are you saying, like...
I'm trying to say this in a way that it doesn't make me... feel ashamed.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I think men look at not just quantity, but variety of porn than women typically do. So if we go to a porn website right now, and you click on categories on the site, there is a ton of different quote unquote categories of porn, right?
Yes.
There's this, that, and the other,
Thank
and
goodness.
then some. So many different categories, right?
Yes.
I would guess, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can correct me.
You click on more categories than I do, is that what you're saying?
Over the course of my life, and over the course of viewing porn throughout my life, yes, there are some categories that
are your go-tos.
Yes, that are my go-tos that I,
But you venture out more.
Well,
I need to click on some other categories.
At this point in my life, I have porn that I like, and I'm not really interested in other porn.
Okay.
But over the course of my life, I've looked at everything.
Well, you gotta find out what you like.
Yes. Do you feel like that would be an accurate...
Do I feel like I've looked at a lot of things? I've clicked on a lot of categories?
Yes.
I do.
Okay. And on clicking on all of those different categories, did you not see different representations of vulvas?
I think there's like slight variations, but they're all... I mean, I see more variety in them now.
Yeah.
I absolutely see more now.
Than back in the day.
But I also, I'm on sites that are different type. That's like the ethical ways and the more inclusive and more women. That's what, so yeah, we get to see different things now. Back then it was like they were pretty Like there's slight variations,
Pretty
but
all
they're
the same.
pretty all the same.
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
I don't know
That's
what
how I
point
remember it.
I don't know what point I'm trying to make other
I don't
than
either.
I think men...
Are you saying that porn gave you a good idea of women's anatomy? Because I feel like that's false.
No. But I think that, like, when I stop and think about it, I think about all of the vulvas that I've seen, like, in person.
I just heard, like, to all the girls I've loved before, to, like, all the vulvas I've seen.
It's definitely not the case, right?
What I heard, it was
because I've seen
funny.
plenty of vulvas that had nothing to do with...
Okay, anyways.
Yeah, anyways. But all of them, right? All of them did not seem like, oh my God, what the hell is that? All of them I had seen in one way, shape, or form at some point. Yeah. So it wasn't ever like this shocking thing of, oh my God, what is that?
Really?
Yeah.
That's comforting.
And
have you not heard that song, To All the Girls I've Loved Before?
No.
Okay. It was a song reference that I was making right there.
Okay.
But I could tell that you missed that.
Not some triggered moment of me talking about vulvas that I've seen.
No, that's definitely not a triggered moment.
Okay.
So
yeah, I think that probably statistically speaking, we could survey a bunch of men and men would understand that vulvas come in a variety of...
Okay, so they understand that it comes in a variety of, but are they getting, oh my God, that's a terrible word. Are they getting enough exposure to a variety so that they can see and appreciate a variety instead of the tailor-made ones?
See, this is the really interesting thing, right? Because we're going to talk about penises in a minute.
I hope so.
And I think that, I mean, if we just take 100 men and 100 women, right? So we're just doing a really small scale.
Let's do it. There's a TV show like this. I've seen it.
And we pull those 100 men and we ask them a series of questions, right? We could come up with some questions to ask men about vulvas. Okay. And I mean, one of those questions in some way, shape, or form, the answer would be, I'm just happy to see a vulva. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care if it has hair. I don't care if it doesn't have hair. I don't care if the labia are big. I don't care about any of that. I'm just grateful that suddenly I get the opportunity to be in the same space and time as another vulva. So it doesn't really matter.
Really? You think that'll be?
I think that would probably be like really high up on one or two, like
in the moment. Yeah. Happy, but like, are we talking one night stands or are we talking, because like, yeah, you're happy in the moment because like, any dick will do you in the moment too.
It doesn't really matter. That's the point. Like the thing is, it doesn't matter what it looks like. I'm just happy that there's a vulva in my life.
Well, that's pretty... That actually... I don't like that.
How come?
Because for me, just this is my perspective, that just seems so like, go get a doll then. You know, it just seems so impersonal. So
it's just basically boiling everything down to the woman's worth is the vagina.
Yeah, that's how it feels. Like, I mean, thank you for the non-judgment.
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be judgment. And like back and forth, there, judgment for a penis isn't there. That's something that's in the man's head. Like, I'm sure like all of this is in the woman's head to a point. But like, I feel like it should be appreciated. Like if somebody was like, I don't care, I just want to look at a vulva, of like, you're sure it's not looking.
And that's not what I was saying, right? It wasn't
appreciation.
It wasn't I don't care and any vulva will do. It was so if we have that woman and she lists off all of the different things that she doesn't like about her vulva, and then we ask her partner or we ask a random man that we just show the vulva to, he'd be like, what is she even talking about? I didn't see any of that.
Can you see what is beautiful about it though?
Yes.
Or is there still like I don't care, let's just like, what's her name?
No, like that's a stereotyping of the man, right?
It is.
I mean, and I don't think that's the case. I mean, I feel like we're knee deep in vulvas at this point, and that's okay. I'm trying to
let's get to know them.
I'm trying to give you a perspective and give the people that are listening a different perspective than I think women make a bigger deal about their vulvas than men do.
Maybe men don't make a big enough deal about the beauty of a vulva.
And see, I don't think it has... like, what is your issue? Is it that men don't think vulvas are beautiful, or that men only want a vulva to look this specific way that is portrayed in pornography?
My issue is that vulvas are portrayed a certain way in pornography and in however you come across things. And so young girls grow up thinking that they're ugly and they're wrong and they're broken, and that you have adult women who are trying to, they still haven't been able to accept their bodies. That's my issue. I don't like, I would like the view of men to be more expansive, but my problem is that what is out there is affecting self-hate for women to have on themselves. And I'm using very binary terms. Like, this goes, like,
correct.
I'm simplifying it for this conversation, but obviously it is so much more than woman vulva.
Yeah.
Like, it's the binary of that is so much more.
Yeah, and what
non-binary.
I mean, I'm not disputing that needs to change, right?
Yeah.
And that the ways that it not only are shown in porn, but also the ways that it's, you know, the relationship that we have with the relationship that obviously humans have with sex in this country is terrible, right? That needs to change. What I'm trying to get at is, like, you could pull those 100 men and you might find 5% of them that are going to be assholes about the way a vagina looks.
Okay.
And then you'll find 95% of them that just love the vulva the way that it is. That's regardless.
Good. That's good.
And so I think
that's not where my focus is, though.
Well, for the idea of this thought experiment that is going right off into the ditch at this point, I think it's flipped, right? You'd find 5% of women that love their vulvas exactly as they are and are okay with everything about them and have no issues. And then 95% of them that would be like, it's this, it's that, I'm embarrassed.
See, that's my focus. That's where I want the change to come.
So that dynamic of, you know, if we're asking men about vulvas, it's 5% that are assholes and 95% that appreciate exactly how it is no matter what. And then it flips where we have 5% of women that appreciate it no matter what, and then 95% that judge it and have a hard time and feel shame and want to cover up and hide and all these different things. Now we take the exact same thing and we apply it in the reverse. So we have 100 women and we ask them about penises, and you're going to have 5% of those women that are like, I like this penis or I like that penis. And if this penis is this, that, or the other, I don't like it, that are kind of more, you know, I don't want to say assholes or bitches.
They're out there, like, it comes and
but
goes.
there's going to be that percentage of women that are picky about penises. And then there's going to be the vast majority of 95% of them that have no issue regardless of size, shape, circumcision, you know, all the different variables that come in play when it comes to a penis. But then you flip it and you'll have 5% of men that are comfortable with their penis as is, regardless of whatever, and then 95% of it that judges and that is ashamed and that is embarrassed and that is struggling.
And that's where the focus should be for that group.
Yes. I'm exhausted.
Are you?
I feel like we are in agreement.
We are in agreement to a point, but there are some variations here.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are we disagreeing on?
I don't think it's...
I was going to ask you.
Okay.
What is your relationship to penises? Separate from, I know that
I only play with one. So.
But did you ever encounter a penis that you were like, oh, that's a weird looking fucking penis and I don't want anything to do with that? And think about it. I know it's difficult because you have trauma and you have terrible
I'm
relationships.
Like, there's definitely been times I've not been happy to see a penis.
Exactly.
There's been a lot of times I've been like, no.
I know. So maybe you can't answer the question.
No, that absolutely, like.
Because I'm thinking about it, like I said
me hard right
earlier,
there.
from like, you know, every vulva that I've encountered, I'm like, cool, there's a vulva.
I've never been like, cool, there's a penis.
Well, let's just use you and me, our relationship.
I'm trying to get past the shock that just happened. So maybe just
okay.
ease. Because there's definitely been, and it's hard for me right now because now I'm like, I've got memories hitting me, and to try and talk and like work around it is difficult. So I'm trying to like.
Would it help if I keep rambling?
No, because then I'm just like tuning you out and I'm off of my thoughts. So I just take a moment.
Take a moment.
It's funny that affected me so hard, but it really did. And it's not funny. I just say it's, you're like, it's funny. You're like, haha, everything's fine. I'm fucking dying inside over here. It's like, okay. Haha. Man, it's hard. There's also like, it's really hard to separate the trauma, and I'm trying really hard to do that. But I can. It's just like I have to like compartmentalize, if I'm saying that correctly, myself in this moment, because I'm like, yeah, you like over here is having a moment. It's going, and I'm trying really hard to. She's like, let's go over here with this conversation because none of this is happening, but it really took over. But I can set it aside and I can see the different things, and there has not been in healthy aspects, there have never been, it's never been like, oh well, that's weird, or or a disappointment, or any of that. It's even a like, it's, I'm just not like, yay, a penis either. It's just in good situations, it was like there's definitely a variety. There's a variety, but it hasn't, like, there hasn't been something that I can't even think of the words. All I can think of is like consent is the word that I couldn't come up with in healthy consensual avenues that I've been put off by that.
Do you remember?
That was fucking rough to get through. That was rough. That was.
Do you remember, separate from, like, try to, and you may not even have the remembrance.
I might not be able to come back to this conversation. It just might have got derailed.
The first time that you saw my penis, did you have any thoughts? And I'm not talking about excitement and, the sex and the attraction and all of those different things, but I'm just talking like strictly, was there something that like stood out about my penis that you made note of, like, oh, that's weird, or that's different, or, oh, he's got one of those penises, or, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen. And when I first saw your penis, I was in love with you. I know that's silly, but that's
not silly. It's beautiful.
Okay. I feel silly right now. I'm like, hello to you. But I feel like I'll be too explicit.
You can be explicit.
I was very, the draw was very, very strong.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because my penis has a tractor beam. When you get caught into the tractor beam, you can't get out.
There was no like step backs or anything. It was very much I'm coming at you with all orifices,
Orifices.
I wanted it.
That's so terrible.
No, I was
bringing all orifices to the party.
I'm trying to be okay here. You went from like a trauma thing to having me talk about yours. And
I'm so sorry.
Fuck.
I know it's a hard conversation.
It is a
because
hard
of trauma.
conversation.
But that's okay. You're doing it.
Thank you. So no, I did not have any. I'm not asking you the question for me because I don't want to hear your answer.
Well, let me tell you my perspective.
I just said I didn't want to hear it.
Every time I'm trying to think back as far back as I can remember, like the first interaction that my penis had with another person, right? A woman, a girl. From that point forward, every interaction that my penis ever had with a woman, this is what like goes through my head. I have to suspend. It's almost like I don't acknowledge the lower part of my body. I have to like compartmentalize and put the perspective. Like we'll use parts work as an example, right? Because we talk about that on the podcast a lot. So there's a part of me that is like the meanest, harshest, most judgmental when it comes to my dick, and says the worst things, looks at it in the worst way, just thinks it's the most like worthless thing that's ever existed. And I have to take that part and lock it into a room and like turn the music on really loud so that I can't hear what he's saying anytime that there's going to be, anytime that I was going into some sort of sexual interaction with a woman.
I relate. And
so it's like I can literally remember there were times, this is going to be a funny story for you, babe.
Good.
I don't even know why I'm going to share this story, but it gives you a context of what I'm trying to explain. So this was very, I don't know how old I was, 19 or 20. It's when I was in Minnesota, and anyways, there was this relationship that I was in, and for some reason, maybe I don't need to share that story. I'm getting super fucking activated because I'm talking about
I'm pretty activated too. I mean, not by your story though.
Yeah. No, it's just really interesting as I sit and think about this. Because I can remember very well the first time that you and my penis met.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened for me on my part. There's a part of me that disassociates and disconnects from the experience because I'm so convinced that as soon as you see my penis, it's done. It's done. We're done. We're over. Because it's too small, and it's not going to provide any satisfaction whatsoever. And so there's a part of me that disconnects from those sexual experiences and those sexual encounters because I'm so afraid of that moment when finally they lay eyes on my penis, right? And I can think back to all my sexual encounters over my life, and it's always that. And I disconnect and then I overcompensate. So I'll go like, the story that I was trying to tell was there was a time with this girl that I was dating and seeing at the time where I completely stripped naked and was just like standing there completely naked, and she wasn't naked. And like, that's the overcompensation. That's like me going, like doing something so overboard that it becomes a distraction from my penis.
Okay.
So anything that I can do to draw attention away from my penis is going to be like a defensive mechanism of protection. So then that way, you know, she doesn't just turn around and leave the room and I never hear from her again. And same thing happened with us. I mean, it was the same thing where I didn't strip down naked and stand there naked, but I had to close off that part of me and disassociate to some extent out of the fear and anxiety of what was going to happen when you first saw my penis or see my penis. And it's only through the growth of our relationship and our connection and over time and everything like that, that I've been able to no longer disconnect and disassociate in our sexual relationship, so that I am more connected and more present and more aware of what's going on. And there's still the voice, there's still a part of me that struggles, there's still that thing. But I don't have to cram it into a room and then distract and disassociate and kind of be present with it in the moment. And the majority of the time, it's quiet, like it's a quiet voice. And I just get to enjoy the pleasure that you and I experience. I just get to enjoy the experience and be much more present in it, which turns out enhances the experience, right?
Presence is pleasure.
Right? The more connected we are and the more present I am and the more connected I am to my body, right? I've learned way more about what I like because of you and because of our relationship and because of the safety that I have felt in order to be connected in that space to my body. So I know way more about what I like. And I mean, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Those are really beneficial things.
I relate.
But yeah, that dynamic, that relationship of like me and my penis have always been at odds with each other. And he's like the, you know, he's probably the one part of my body. I have a lot of parts of my body that I'm ashamed of and that I don't like and that I don't like, other people seeing, but he's at the top. I mean, he's the first and foremost thing that, you know, everything else I can kind of get through. But every time it came time to actually, hi, here's my penis, it was always a nightmare. It was always really difficult and really scary. And it's so funny because I've never had what I believe, right? Maybe I did, but I don't really think so. Like I've never had a relationship with a woman then have her be like, well, I'm leaving you because of your penis.
Yeah.
Like I've never had a relationship end because of my penis, or I've never had everybody that I've ever had a sexual relationship with has wanted more. Or not, but do you know what I mean? It's never been like, well, that was terrible because your penis didn't perform, and so now we're no longer having a sexual relationship.
So that's my point at the beginning when I was saying that I didn't have the agreeance. The 5% and the 95% that you were doing, like identified women, identified men, and how they view the other one. Like that would be nice if that, like, there was more out there to where that could shift, right, for the perspective. But that's not the problem. Like, the problem is how it's self-portrayal.
It's how you see yourself, right?
Because you had all of the women, and you've never, but yet you still felt like that every single encounter. So it doesn't matter how you're perceived. It matters how you receive yourself. And that's how it needs to, that's the shit that I'm talking about. Like, I'm like, great. Like for the men that are applauding the vulvas, I don't care. You know, I care about my partner and that relationship, but as far as the rest, but I care about all, like, women being able to receive themselves no matter what their anatomy is.
So how do we change people's perspective on their own bodies? How do we make their own bodies more acceptable and more okay, and cultivate a healthier relationship with their bodies, not just with their vulva or their penis, but obviously, you know, their entire body?
More bodies need to be represented.
That's one thing.
The stigma needs to change. Bodies need to be represented. I don't believe more suppression is the fact. I don't think that, like, there's definitely some things that need to be taken out of the system, but I think more bodies need to be represented on a louder and more ongoing basis, so we can see, like, healthy consensual sex. Like, consensual sex is not dirty. It's not, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with owning your body and being proud of your body. And you don't have to abuse your body in any way. Like, it's just like, you're looking at me and I feel like I'm sounding stupid.
No, not at all.
I just feel like more representation needs to be displayed for men and women.
I have a question.
Okay.
That stems from what you just said. Obviously, you and I are born and raised in this wonderful country. Or this country, whether or not it's wonderful, that's up for debate. But this country specifically, I think, you know, Western culture and even just this culture in this country has a different relationship with sex and with our bodies and with nudity. Do you think that it's different? Because there's some cultures that nudity isn't an issue. You see far more nudity in media. Also, like, it wouldn't be uncommon. Like, I'm thinking about like you talked earlier when you were a little kid and you went to the swimming pool, right? Like when you go to the swimming pool now and you go into the locker room, you don't have a bunch of naked women walking around and coming and going from the shower and things like that, right?
Never seen that.
People are very private.
Yeah.
And same thing applies in men's locker rooms for the most part. Although there are certain circumstances where it's different. Do you think that it would be beneficial? Because there are some cultures where it would be very normal to walk into the women's locker room and have everybody in various stages of nudity, right?
There's also cultures where like you can't see somebody's shoulders, like
Correct.
elbows are too.
But I'm saying those cultures where
so.
it's far more acceptable
Okay.
to be nude, not just as adults, but also having children present. So like you take your children into the locker room with you at the local swimming pool, and it's not like some co-ed locker room, but it's like the women's locker room where you go in and change and you get ready and you take a shower, whatever the case may be. There's just a variety of nude bodies. And then it becomes a much more normalized. So then children growing up are more accustomed to feeling comfortable nude and also have already seen a variety of bodies, real bodies, human bodies. Because that's a thing, right?
That is a thing. And I'm sitting here, like, my first, like, reaction is, like, no.
Right.
But I know that that's also
Our culture.
our culture. And so I don't know that I
Agree with that?
don't know that I disagree either. You know, I'm like there's something there, but there's balance in all things. I don't think all of a sudden, you know, all these like exposure. I'm not talking like full on like genital exposure. I'm not describing that. I'm talking about like, I wonder, like, I don't know about that. I can't answer that right now. I don't know. I would have to really sit with that. And I can't really sit with that in time for a podcast.
See, it's even hard to put your brain there because of the programming that's gone on in this culture.
It is,
in our
but there's
society.
something there. But I also believe that, you know, there's two ends of the spectrum, you know, and so where's the healthy balance on that? But I'm not just talking about genitals and that. I'm also talking about, like, yeah, that's a factor. That's a big factor. And that's the majority of this conversation. But it also keeps going with healthy exposure to just bodies.
Yeah, bodies, shapes, and sizes.
Body shapes
everything.
and sizes and colors and everything
Yeah.
that is just out there instead of it being tailored to this.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't even start to get through the clothes and to the rest of the anatomy when you're still focused so much on this. So a grand exposure in general, and it doesn't have to go right to genitals. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, genitals almost have nothing to do with it, right? It's just a systemic part of the entire thing where, yes, it's a part, but it's also, you know, it's not like I said earlier, there are many parts of my body that I have felt insecure about and not wanting other people to see, not just my genitals, not just my penis. But I think it's interesting because I have the same hesitation that you have trying to even fathom like a culture where, you know, it's normalized to have all of that nudity take place. And to us,
For me, I'm not there.
well, there's a part of me that can very much realize that normalizing it in that sense, because it's normal there.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like they're normalizing
I would
it.
like to experience that.
That's just
and
normal.
then just see. Like, I can't think of what that would be like because I've never experienced that.
Yeah.
So maybe that would be something that like you would have to experience it and see and witness and be a part of that culture for a little while and watch how it affects to be able to give an opinion on that, because I can only go off of the culture that I know.
Think about when we went to the nude beach.
Yes.
And how much all sorts of different feelings we had leading up to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excitement, fear, anxiety, stress, all this, you know, and then finally the time came and we were there and then we were naked and we were walking on the beach and there were other naked people walking on the beach. And I mean, maybe 5 minutes it took before it was totally comfortable and everything was fine and it was normalized and nothing bothered us?
Yes, but we also were lucky enough that we didn't have to, like, our hard no was if there's kids there, that's not happening. And like, that's kind of what you're going with now. So we didn't have to, it was all adults. And so you're talking about in the locker room with varying ages. I can't wrap my brain. Like, I know that there's healthy exposure, but I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And it's scary to think.
It's scary. It is.
And I think the scary thing, that part of us that is like, yes, there's a certain level of what is healthy and it's hard for us to know where the boundary is for that. But then we go to this opposite end of the spectrum, to the extreme of suddenly it's not healthy and it's wrong and it's abusive and it's dangerous and it's scarring and it's traumatizing. But that extreme, I think, is the culture, because our culture and our society exists when it comes to sexuality in two extremes. This is what's safe and normal. Safe and normal is behind closed doors. Safe and normal is this thing, right?
But that's not. Yeah. Okay. Keep going.
And then anything that's not that is fucking weird, and it's all the way over here in the extreme, and you need to be ashamed, and we need to hide it. We need to not, talk about it.
And it leads to the trauma that we have.
Yes.
Also, if these behaviors, then this is going to happen.
But
and
like, if it's always been totally
that.
normal, think about when we were hunters and gatherers.
I don't have memory of that,
in small tribes. Yeah, you do. Just go back. Remember last week when we lived in a teepee? But think about the way that, when everybody slept under the same roof in the same room or in the same hut or in the same cave.
I can't wrap my head around that. I know where you're going. I can't. You can keep giving me scenarios and I'm not going to go like, oh, I cannot wrap my head around that. I know that there is something to think about there. And I know that there is a healthy boundary. I know we're too far on the spectrum, but I don't know where the line is. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm very triggered. Quit trying to give me scenarios where I can see it that way. I can't. Stop.
Okay. A train leaves Philadelphia.
Knock it off.
Full of naked people.
Seriously.
It's definitely interesting to say the least, right? And I think this conversation has in fact been helpful.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Normalizing even just uncomfortable conversations about our penises and our vulvas and things like that, right? That's an important thing.
I think it's an important thing. I don't know what the answer is.
What's the Instagram account that you like?
I think it's the Vulva Galleries, and I believe it's like the .vulva .galleries, but give me a second.
That's okay. We can share it in the show notes too, but find it if you could.
I tried to.
The majority of the time where I'm like, we'll share that in the show notes. I never fucking share it in the show notes. By the time when the time comes to put those things in the show notes, I don't fucking remember.
It's the .vulva .gallery, and it made quite a difference in my world. Perfect. I remember crying when I first came across it, and I was like, and then was reading the stories and seeing the different shapes and just seeing everything, and I was like, oh my gosh. And it just, like, my healing began with this account.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I think it's
super
really
awesome. So, like we were talking earlier, you also follow some other account that does similar things, but has recently started posting not just vulvas but penises.
And at first, it was a healthy thing, I thought.
Yeah.
And it's shifted a bit. It shifted. I'm not sure how I feel about that right now. I'll have to look more.
Maybe we'll have to. I'm curious now to see if there is some similar account as the vulva galleries for the penis galleries, where it's just a bunch of either paintings or castings, is that what they're called? Of just normal flaccid penises.
Yeah.
Because
that's the other one is where it was shifted, because it was starting that way, and now it's like all these like rock hard boners that are casted and out everywhere, and I'm like, that seems like we're changing up a little bit. I don't know. I don't see it. Yeah. But I could also be wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think this conversation alone, like we've just said, was important.
I'm gonna go on a penis hunt for you, see if I can find that account.
Yeah.
I don't imagine you would scroll through trying to find a bunch of penises, so I'll see what I can find, and then I will deliver the penis accounts to you.
It's funny because for all the insecurity that I have about my penis and all the things that I've struggled with over the years and things like that, the idea that somehow by looking at other penises that is going to make me feel better about mine. And that doesn't make sense to me in my brain. Like, I don't see the correlation and connection. I've seen a lot of penises also, right?
Yeah.
And I know that all penises are different. And I know all of that. And I have experience in seeing all of that in person as well as in pornography and things like that. But I don't think it's beneficial for me to sit and, look at a variety of penises to make myself feel better about my penis. I don't see how that would be beneficial. I'm not saying, it's wonderful that you have, do you know what I mean, benefited from that vulva gallery and things like that. I don't know. I don't know what would help with me. At this point in my life, I still struggle, and I still have that part of my inner voice and inner critic that is judging my penis. But more or less these days, it has less to do with my penis and more to do with just with my overall body. And my penis is kind of an afterthought at this point.
I'm struggling with my body too. I understand.
So
be open is what I would say. Because I've seen a lot of, not in person, but I've seen a lot of vulvas. I've seen a lot, but I haven't seen it. It was always a sexual in nature. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with sexuality, but sexual in nature. And you're also in a sexual mindset.
Yeah.
When it's a sexual in nature, which is all okay. But this account, so if there was one, like, this is just for what it was for me, this account is not sexual in nature. It is, it's very informative. It's very real. And women are, yes, showing themselves. Some aren't. Sometimes she'll use a cast from, or a painting from another woman because like they didn't submit it, but like, this is how I feel. But there's so many similarities now that you can do that. There's like this look and these feelings and this style. Like there's so many different things, and it goes from, it's just all over, like everything you can possibly imagine, and even what you can imagine. Like I've definitely seen vulvas that it didn't even occur to me, that I've never seen, that I was just like, and reading the stories and reading about it and hearing how they felt and their experiences. And that's what was different. And that's where the healing came from. Because of just looking at, seeing women's anatomy, and then all of a sudden you're like, that's not what happened. It was a style. So if there was an account for men like that, or for, I guess,
the stories, right? The part of it.
It's the stories.
Yeah,
and
the human connection after the fact, I think is.
Yes.
And I would be shocked if there was one of those for men. I would be shocked if there was an account where it was a cast of just your everyday, this is my penis, not aroused, not erect, just this is my penis and this is my story in regards to my relationship with him. I would be shocked if that account exists. If it does, if you know that account, please share it with us.
How cool would that be?
That would be awesome.
How cool would that be?
Yeah.
There was
men definitely do not talk about, in all that work that I did over the last several years with men's groups and sitting in groups of men, very, 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 almost never did our penises come up in conversation.
Really?
And the idea that, well, that's the case because it's not, important, or it's not on somebody's mind, or it's not, is nonsense. It's a huge thing for men. Yeah. And it is something that is so incredibly rarely spoken about. Just in regards to what you think of your penis and your relationship with your penis, and like your story of your penis, that would be a really powerful account. I'd probably follow that.
I would follow that.
Yeah.
I will, I'm actually thinking I don't know if I'll get a response because it's kind of a big deal, but, I will reach out to her.
Do you follow them as the podcast? You'll have to. Anyways.
I do. Yeah. I'll reach out and see if, maybe she'll have a resource. Maybe there is one out there.
That would be cool.
Yeah. That would be very cool.
turns out this episode was all about the penis and the vulva, babe.
Yeah.
Not too bad, not too shabby. My hope for you is that you continually cultivate your healthy relationship with your entire body, not just with your vulva, but with your entire body. Because I'm madly in love with every part of you.
I relate.
And so I hope that you have an ongoing, loving, healthy, kind, accepting, patient, glorious relationship with your entire body, because this is the body that we have for the rest of our lives.
That's what we got.
And it's spectacular. I know. That's what I'm saying. It's spectacular.
Yeah. Let's enjoy our bodies. Who cares where they're at?
My hope is that mine continues to just improve, and
I hope your relationship with your body and all aspects improve.
Yeah.
I'm happy to remind you, if I can put my thoughts into you.
If that happened, like if you could put my thought, if I could
you're going to walk around like
exactly
either loving yourself completely and or like just getting it on with yourself consistently.
Yeah.
You're going to love yourself and you're going to enjoy yourself.
That's exactly what would happen. You would be naked all the time.
Yeah.
And you would constantly be like, have you seen my vagina today? Let me show you my vagina. Did you see what my vulva's doing? Check this vulva out. Like you'd be like, hey, here's what.
That's probably why we can't do that, because we would, I don't know.
It sounds like a perfect world to
We're
me.
definitely going to have to get a cabin in the woods.
When in doubt.
Spread the cookie out.
Or vulva.